final whistle went, Spain stood as world champions, and then something rare happened. The people who actually play this game for a living, the legends, the winners, the men who usually hide behind safe diplomatic answers, stopped being careful. One after another, in studios, in mixed zones, in post-match interviews beamed across 3 continents, they started saying what they really thought. And when you put all those comments side by side, they stop sounding like scattered opinions and start sounding like a verdict. A shared one, so forget my take for a moment. Let the witnesses speak, because the players themselves just laid out the truth about Spain against Argentina, and it isn't pretty. Let me get you up to speed quickly, since you probably watched it and definitely felt it. Spain won, Argentina 0 after extra time, with Ferran Torres scoring the winner in the 106th minute, sealing a final that Spain had dominated almost from the opening whistle. Argentina, the reigning world champions, Lionel Messi's Argentina, didn't manage a single shot in the first half, and never once hit the target across all 120 minutes. The game itself turned into a grind, close to 50 fouls total, 4 yellow cards for Argentina, a contest that traded entertainment for raw physical combat. Enzo Fernandez was sent off in the final seconds of regulation time for a studs-up challenge that sent a teenager flying, leaving Argentina to see out extra time a man short. And when the final whistle came, instead of accepting the result, several of their players tried to fight the champions. That's what happened on the pitch. Now here's what football's biggest voices had to say about it. Start with the man who never sugarcoats anything. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, someone who's built his whole career on refusing to flatter anybody, looked at this final and gave it to us straight. Football won today, he said. He zeroed in on that number, Argentina's 0 shots on target, and said they finally got the result they deserved. That they played dirty, and the whole world saw exactly how weak they truly were. When Zlatan calls a team weak, that's not just an opinion, that's a diagnosis. Then came the tactical breakdown, and this is the part worth really paying attention to because it changes how you see the whole match. Thierry Henry wasn't focused on the fighting. He was fixated on what Spain did when they didn't have the ball. Henry pointed out that whenever Spain lost possession, they wanted it back within roughly 3 passes, every single time, because all 11 players defended with a level of discipline he called truly remarkable. And that's the detail casual fans tend to miss. When people call a match boring, they're usually only watching the team in possession. Henry was watching the team without it. And what he saw was 11 players pressing together like one unit, shutting down every passing lane, suffocating the defending champions so thoroughly that Argentina's attack never had room to breathe. Let that sink in. The real story of this final wasn't just that Argentina got nasty. It's that Spain built a machine so airtight that Argentina were never given enough time on the ball to do any damage. Micah Richards backed this up from the other side of the punditry table, calling out Rodri, the Golden Ball winner, back from the serious knee injury that had a lot of people writing him off, as the standout midfielder of the entire tournament, no contest. Richards also pointed out that Pep Guardiola had predicted, flat out, that Rodri would hit his peak form at exactly this World Cup. Think about the year this man has pieced together. The Euros, the Ballon d'Or, a brutal knee injury, a comeback most players never pull off, and now a World Cup title, becoming the first Manchester City player ever to captain a team to the trophy. Richards looked at that trophy case and simply said, "Wow, Pep called it, Rodri delivered it, Spain lifted it." And the man who designed the whole plan, Spain's manager Luis de la Fuente, revealed the secret afterward without a shred of arrogance. The strategy, he explained, was built above all around containing Messi and keeping the other dangerous Argentine players away from goal through pure collective effort, everybody sacrificing for the team. Then he dropped the line that should worry the rest of the football world. If it weren't for Argentina's goalkeeper, he said, Spain would have won by a wider margin. That's not bragging. Check the stats. It's just fact. And to show he's still just a regular guy, De La Fuente joked about Marc Cucurella's now famous promise to get the coach's face tattooed on him if Spain won it all. "I'm not that ugly though," he said, fully aware that these players keep their word and are now legally on the hook to get his face inked on their skin forever. That's what a champion's locker room looks like. Loose, tight-knit, and dangerous now, back to the ugly side of things because the players didn't let it slide, and this is where the verdict turned unanimous. Roy Keane, a man who spent his whole career happily mixing it up physically, someone who genuinely loves the rough side of the game, drew a hard line. On Argentina's behavior, he said simply, "You've got to take your medicine." What made his point sting was that he noted these were the exact same Argentina players who'd done this stuff to England's players just days before. And now that it came back on them, they couldn't handle it. In football, being told you can dish it out but can't take it is about as harsh an insult as there is. Keane still gave Spain their due. Fantastic to watch, he said, the way they wore Argentina down, but his message about the losing side was clear. Gary Neville went even further. It's a disgrace, he said on ITV, and what made it land was that he said it while praising Argentina's fighting spirit, while admitting he loves how hard they compete, while acknowledging that Messi has carried this team for years. This wasn't someone with an axe to grind. This was a man who respects Argentina, telling everyone that they'd disgraced themselves across their last couple of matches, and openly questioning why officials kept letting it slide. Alan Shearer painted an even more vivid picture, describing Leandro Paredes throwing 2 or 3 real punches at someone's face, and saying there's just no place in the game for that. That everybody understands how badly losing hurts, but there's a right way to lose, and Argentina, time and again, failed to find it. Joe Hart on the BBC needed only 2 words to sum up the post-match scenes. Disgusting behavior. He said Argentina had no grounds to complain about the result, and while he felt Rodri didn't need to get in their faces, he understood why, after 120 minutes of being provoked. Wayne Rooney, watching Paredes keep going long after the World Cup had already been decided, called it embarrassing and simply not good enough, noting that Paredes is better than that. He just chose not to show it, so let's actually look at what set it off, because the footage made it clear. The whole brawl had one spark and the cameras caught it. As a Spain substitute ran onto the pitch to celebrate, Rodri jogged past Nahuel Molina, and Molina punched him in the chest. Rodri stopped, turned around, and squared up. Eric Garcia stepped in to pull them apart, and that's when Paredes arrived, shoved Garcia by the throat, threw him to the ground, then swung at Gavi and dropped him too, while Scaloni sprinted around like a substitute teacher trying to break up a schoolyard fight. Off to the side, Nicolas Otamendi got right in Rodri's face, throwing jabs that had nothing to do with football and everything to do with bitterness. "You were crying all week," he told him, accusing Spain of working the referees. That was Argentina's whole defense, actually, that Aymeric Laporte had publicly complained before the match about Argentina's rough style of play, and that this had somehow pressured the officials. Which is a fascinating argument. We're not the problem. The problem is people accurately called us out ahead of time. Then came the moment even Argentina's coach couldn't spin, though he tried. As Spain climbed up to lift the trophy, Argentina reportedly turned their backs, and Scaloni, in tears at his press conference, insisted his players had shown they know how to lose. A strange thing to say about a night that included a red card for pure petulance, close to 50 fouls, a mass brawl, and a snubbed trophy ceremony. But here's where I have to pause and be fair, because the players were fair too, and the truth has more than one side. Scaloni's tears were genuine. This is a man who won it all in 2022 and came within one disciplined opponent of doing it again. He was gutted to his core. "Losing this hurts me deep in my soul," he said, before admitting straight out that Spain were the better team and deserved the win. He called Messi the greatest footballer to ever step on a pitch, marveled that at 39 the man is still doing this, and said he had no complaints about a single one of his players. Then he turned to his own uncertain future. His contract runs through December, and he admitted he'd need to talk with his federation, that he'd need to reset his own mindset, that putting together a group like this again might just not be possible. "It'll be hard to build another team like this," he managed, before his voice broke and he walked out mid-sentence. Whatever you think of how his players acted, the man leading them was heartbroken over both the beauty of what they'd built and the pain of watching it end. And Neville was right that Messi has carried this team, a genius surrounded, as one German pundit less kindly put it, by teammates who don't share his feel for the game. Messi himself didn't throw a single punch. He cried instead, and even the toughest critics left room for fairness. Keane, despite his take-your-medicine harshness, went on to say maybe we shouldn't be too hard on Argentina, that stripped of Messi's magic for once. They were at least trying to find another way to win a game slipping away from them. Playing physical, playing cynical, riding the edge of the rules, that's a tactic as old as football itself, and it isn't automatically wrong. The real offense, everyone agreed, came after the final whistle, once the tactic had already failed and there was nothing left to play for but a dignity they refused to show. And Spain, to their enormous credit, stayed classy in a way that made Argentina's collapse look even worse in comparison. De La Fuente called his players amazing, praised their sacrifice, and refused to gloat about beating Messi. Ferran Torres, the man whose goal won the World Cup, delivered the quote of the night. Not a word about himself, not a word about Argentina. The goal was for 47 million people, he said, meaning all of Spain, meaning it belonged not to him, not even to the 26 players, but to everyone who believed. That's the contrast the players kept coming back to. One team made the final about themselves and their grievances. The other made it about their country. There was a lighter side to the reckoning too, and the players didn't spare FIFA from it either. This was the first World Cup final ever to bolt on a full Super Bowl-style halftime show. Madonna was driven onto the pitch by Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, along with BTS, Shakira, Bieber, Burna Boy, and the Muppets, stretching the break past 27 minutes. Rooney, asked live on the BBC what his highlight of the show was, didn't hesitate. "Honestly, mine was when it ended," he said. He added that he likes those artists, but the show felt flat, and he just wanted the football back. Roy Keane called it an anticlimax, only softening it by admitting it's always nice to see Shakira. The players inside the stadium might have loved it. The football people watching just wanted 11 against 11, not a concert crammed into the biggest match on the planet. Even on this, the verdict was consistent. Respect the game or get out of its way. And the whole event carried an unmistakably American stamp. Ad breaks, a Super Bowl-style halftime show, and Donald Trump himself presenting the trophy, later calling the tournament one of the greatest events ever staged. FIFA got its full American experiment. Whether that's actually what a World Cup final needs is a question the biggest names in the sport answered pretty clearly. There's one more thread worth pulling because it circles back to fairness. Both Shearer and Rooney argued that Kylian Mbappe's 2 goals in the third-place match, the ones that won him the Golden Boot ahead of Messi, shouldn't count for quite as much, since France were already eliminated and effectively playing an exhibition game, while Messi was battling through an actual World Cup final against a Spain side that had conceded just 1 goal in the whole tournament. Rooney admitted the goals count officially, but called it unfair to Messi. Even in defeat, even after everything, the football world kept finding ways to honor what Messi represents. That tells you something. You can respect the man fully and still be disgusted by the men around him. Both can be true. The players held both at once. So here's the truth they revealed, laid out, and agreed upon. Spain didn't just win, they were a machine built on discipline and control, all 11 defending as one, winning the ball back within 3 passes, guided by a manager who neutralized the greatest player alive and still felt they'd left goals on the table. Argentina didn't just lose, they were exposed, dragged to a final on provocation and Messi's brilliance, and once the football finally beat them, they threw punches instead of accepting it. Zlatan said football won. Henry said the discipline was remarkable. Keane said take your medicine. Neville, Hart, and Shearer all called it a disgrace, and Scaloni, through tears, said the only honest thing a beaten man could say, they were better. That's the reality. When the winners, the losers, and every neutral legend in between all tell the same story, it stops being just an opinion. It's simply the truth. And that's what makes a verdict this unanimous so powerful. It doesn't need this channel to shout it. It doesn't need a conspiracy. It doesn't need an asterisk. It was delivered in real time by the people who understand this game better than anyone alive, and every single one of them pointed to the same 2 things. A Spanish side that was simply magnificent and an Argentine side that couldn't lose like champions. The players didn't spin it. For once, they just told it straight. Which verdict landed hardest for you? Zlatan's cold football won, Keane telling them to take their medicine, or the coach admitting the truth through his own tears? Let me know down below, I'll be reading. Next up, the full tournament retrospective. Every hero, every villain, one last look back at the wildest World Cup we've ever seen. Come close it out with me.